Okay, so we've been doing the hookup for a while, right? When you work in the space of like dating, relationships and sex, a word that comes up like all the time is intimacy. Mm-hmm. I feel like when you chat to sex therapists or sexologists or whatever, they're always like, intimacy. Like, what's the intimacy like in your sex life? Like, what's the intimacy like in your relationship? And I'm not going to lie, like, I don't think I fully know like the depth of what intimacy actually means.
It's such a huge word. So not only can you use it in a relationship sense, but, you know, like when you're going to gigs, someone will describe music as intimate. And like it's kind of like a verb, like a doing word, getting intimate with someone, but then it's also an adjective to describe like an activity as being intimate. So it's like massive.
Yeah. And obviously, like we're saying, like it's used a lot to describe romantic relationships and sex. But we'll get into it in this episode. It can be just your friendships, your family, your relationships with people that you work with. But let's start off with what we found online about the actual definition. So the word, look at us being.
I love this.
We're like researchers. We've got to make sure we're actually
wait for this.
Okay.
Read it out.
So a lot of websites online define intimacy as – it's from the Latin word, intimus.
It's like Harry Potter spell.
It's
intimus.
Intimus, which also means inner or innermost.
Oh,
which kind of makes sense because it's like your innermost thoughts, feelings, emotions, like the vulnerableness. Mm-hmm. And so I guess it says online that most people would refer to intimacy being people who bond with each other on many levels, and it's a necessary component for all healthy relationships.
Yep. I did a bit of research about this as well in terms of like healthy relationships. When it comes to intimacy and sex, there are heaps of studies that basically say if you have good intimacy, you're going to have a good sex life. This study actually said that they found daily experiences of intimacy are closely linked to positive sexual outcomes, including increased sexual desire, satisfaction, and reduced sexual distress. So it's very, very linked. It's really, really important in your relationship. And also when I was doing research on this, there were so many things coming up of people being like, how do I get my intimacy back?
Yes.
And how do I like regain that spark?
Yeah. Well, we'll obviously do an episode with an expert on that. Like we will get someone because that is probably the most like Googled thing, people being like, how do I bring intimacy into my relationship? I've lost it, blah, blah, blah. But what we really want to explore in this ep in particular is like, I don't know, I feel like it's kind of like the love languages, right? Like it's a bit of a like woo-woo word. It's a bit of a like, what does this even mean word? We want to explore with you, like what does intimacy mean to you?
Yes. So in our research, we found out there are 5 different types of intimacy. It is literally like what you said. It's like a love language. It's like, oh my God, now I'm going to be like labeling and categorizing my life like this now.
So what are they?
So they are intellectual, emotional, spiritual, physical, the one that we all probably understand the most, and social. Now, I don't know about social, but we're going to hopefully get into that and figure out what that is.
I reckon let's unpack like the 5 in this app. But from hearing those, what is your intimacy language?
My favorite would have to be physical because I think I can get emotional intimacy from my friends and that kind of fulfills me. Obviously, it would be bad to not have emotional intimacy with a partner, but I'm like those like light touches and just like that feeling of affection through touch is like so important to me. And I'm like, I'm not necessarily
what is
doing
it
that.
like? What does physical intimacy look like for you?
It's like little grabs on the bum, or it's like a hand around the waist, or like a forehead kiss. And it's almost like it kind of needs to be like not only in the bedroom or outside of the house, inside the house, sorry. It should be like outside. So it's like when I'm in public, I want that person to just do these little things to make me feel like they're seeing me and they recognize that I exist.
Intimate moments between you and this person that shows that you're like exclusive or together, that no one else gets to have with you.
Yeah. And I get like, can I tell you something?
What?
Lately, like you and your partner, like you guys do like a lot of PDA and it actually warms my heart, but it actually makes me feel like real jealous in a way because I'm literally like, I miss that shit so bad.
Really?
Yes. And I think you do it really well. Like I feel like you have like physical intimacy and it's like very like playful, fun. It's like kissing. It's really cute.
Okay, that's interesting.
I'm like getting red cheeks. I'm like, oh, I love it. But I'm literally like, I miss that shit.
I know. Well, I guess that's like, the intimacy of a romantic relationship, right? But like, it's interesting hearing you value that because I think it just comes naturally to my relationship, but I'm not sure that would be my most Like that would be my intimacy love language. I feel like mine might be emotional. Well, when I originally thought about intimacy, we spoke about this before we jumped in the room, and I thought it was like shitting in front of each other. Like I thought it was like those moments where you're like, oh, this person has seen. So
I still think that's intimate.
Should I tell a story about the zit?
Yes.
Okay.
Tell the story. I think this is intimate.
So my original definition of intimacy was like those moments that are just kind of really gross that you would never do with anyone else. And so I had like a full-blown zit on my vulva, and then my partner like got rid of it anyway, got the pus out, and I was like, wow, that is intimate. The most vulnerable, intimate thing I've ever experienced. And I was like, no one would ever have done that before, and I felt a bit like overwhelmed because I was like, that's so intimate.
Yeah. But it's because he cares about you, right? So we've had stories where people have been like, oh, my one night stand had to fish a condom out of my pussy. I've never met this person before. That's an intimate moment, but there's like an abridged version where it's like there's a care factor. There's like a love
that makes
to
it intimacy.
And that's what makes it intimate rather than like, embarrassing or vulnerable. It's like that's intimacy.
Right. So my new, like having really researched this, I'm like, oh, I think I'm someone who needs that emotional intimacy.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
So that's like really knowing someone and saying things that are just so scary to say out loud to someone, and then having them be like, make you feel safe for that.
And I would say it is harder to get emotional intimacy from a partner than physical.
Yeah.
Even though that's kind of like what I said, I was like, I kind of want that a lot. And I think it's probably because where I'm at right now, I'm missing it. I'm very touch starved. So I'm like coming from a place of like, I really want someone to just like hold me. Thank you.
I'm like, what? Look at the way you were holding it. I just grabbed
finally.
Like
I've been waiting for someone to just caress my hand this whole time. If you're listening via the pod, we're holding hands.
We're holding hands.
But I will say another thing that I find in intimacy that is really important to me, I realized after like thinking about this a lot is comfortable silence.
As a yapper,
oh my God.
That is so important for you.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever.
We're just constantly performing. We're constantly on. And if someone can just literally be silent and I'm silent and we're just like driving together somewhere and no one's saying a thing, I know that that's like a good relationship if I don't feel like I have to fill the space.
See, this is what I mean. It is so individual because I don't think that would be mine, but I love that that's yours. And so obviously like with each topic we cover on the hookup, we put it up on our Instagram at Triple J the Hookup. Follow, please.
Overlay. There's a little
like,
link
subscribe.
down there. There's probably a clickable link. I don't know. Can they do that in YouTube? We'll find out.
So we put it up on our Instagram and we asked you what you thought intimacy was or what it meant to you. And we had so many replies. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
But Pip, we'll put them in like the 5 categories, you reckon?
Yeah, let's split it up. So let's start with physical. We had a couple of DMs from this. Curls saying intimacy is not sex. It's cuddling and D&Ms and holding hands.
Aww.
That's cute.
Imi, pushing foreheads together and then laughing.
Love
That's
that.
really cute.
Georgia says spontaneous kisses.
Yeah.
Hannah says certain looks, stroking of the skin, a whisper, a breath. Oh, stop that, Hannah. That's what I want right now.
I love that. I don't know. I'm like, we could go in on the breath thing because I'm like, do you mean just a breath?
No, it's like, you know when they're like near your ear.
Oh, right.
And then they're literally like, hey. That kind of like breath.
I thought you meant like just breathing is intimate. I was like, well, yeah.
Should we turn this into an ASMR channel? Sorry. Everyone always makes that joke when they make videos. Cut that out.
Keep it in the edit. Orville says it's physical with the caring, emotional intent behind it. That's kind of what you said.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. So we had a couple of voice memos about this. Let's start off with Grace.
Lately, I've really been loving those small touches, whether it's like his hand on my knee or around my waist, like stroking my back, stroking my knee, like whatever it might be. And it could be both in private or in public. So if we're just watching a movie on the couch, it's really comforting. If we're actually having a really deep emotional conversation, it's extra nice because it just makes me feel like he cares. And then when we're out in public, it makes me feel like he's thinking of me in that moment, which is lovely.
Are you going to cry?
That's what I want. I'm not going to cry.
Is that hard to hear?
Yeah, I just feel really single right now. I don't know.
Babe.
I know. It's really unusual for me.
No, we'll talk about the intimacy in friendships.
Yeah. Do you want to hear one from Miranda?
Yes.
I think that intimacy is found in all the little things that you share with someone, like hearing their heartbeat when you're hugging, getting a kiss on the cheek as a reminder that they love you, or holding hands so that you know that you're secure and loved.
Sorry, the heartbeat.
Have I had that?
Have
I felt a heartbeat from somebody
That
while
is actually
hugging?
really beautiful.
Yeah, that's nice.
That's really nice.
That's really nice.
This is what I mean. It's like you said, it's about the relationship you have with the person, right? Because I'm like, I could
That
hug a
is
stranger and
intimacy.
feel their heartbeat, but I'm not being like, this is intimacy.
I think you could argue that it would feel intimate with a stranger. I think you can have intimacy with strangers. But
Okay.
it's
Or is it just intimate? Like the act itself is intimate, but that doesn't make it intimacy.
Now that's tea, actually, Mama. You really cooked with that, actually. That could be correct.
That's what I'm saying. It's like if we're going back to the original definition, it's like what you have with that specific person or people. Anyway, this is getting too meta.
Yeah.
But yeah, I clearly love you, Miranda. That makes sense in
Yes.
a romantic sense.
Now, let's talk about the next one, intellectual intimacy. Can you jump in on this? Because I think that you're more of a...
You were like, I don't think this is existing. Like you were like, I don't really know what that means.
I don't know what that means, to be honest. Yeah.
I think intellectual intimacy, and this is from doing my research, like a few websites basically say that it's like the sharing of ideas, opinions, questions, like having intellectual discussions and thoughts with another person.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it makes you feel like you're getting intimate in each other's perspectives, like you feel like you're being seen. You're like, oh my God, I see the world through this lens. And this other person, like I feel like I have that with my relationship, being able to read things and then discuss them and unpack them, and that is intimate because I don't know many people where I can do that with. So that
yeah.
do you like?
I can relate to that. I can definitely see there's this friend group chat that I have called the Discourse Chat. We get intimate on there. It's not very good because it's like over text. So you're like, it's hard to get like fully intimate. But when you bring the Discourse Chat out of the group chat and have it with people, and you know that feeling when someone just like kind of explains something so perfectly and it unlocks a thing in your brain, you're like, oh my God, I get it from your point of view.
Yeah.
There is that nice moment where you do see someone, really see someone, and you're like, oh.
And then you feel like they see you because you feel the same or you think the same way.
Yep.
We didn't have any voice memos or DMs from people though, or from you, talking about having intellectual intimacy, which I found interesting.
Yes.
So maybe if you are listening to this now and you're like, oh, actually, I didn't know this was a thing. Like I do have that with people.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of how we felt. We're like, oh yeah, fuck.
Yeah. Sharing big ideas, books, movies, like intellectual discussion. We're raising awareness for intellectual intimacy. It just doesn't get enough noise.
The love language of intellectual intimacy has been silenced.
And we're raising awareness. Yeah. So comment below if you reckon that like resonates with you. If you're listening to the podcast, just keep listening.
All right, let's go to the main one. Well, not the main one. We don't want to tier these. But
this
I
was
guess
definitely
like,
the most
the main
popular.
one from you
Yeah.
was emotional intimacy. So like we were saying before, that's feeling seen by, sharing vulnerable things with a partner. Maybe it's like, crying about something you've experienced and opening up to someone about that. Or it's like showing parts of yourself that you haven't really shown anyone else.
There were so many different variables on this. So I reckon like let's let the voice memos speak for themselves. This is Nicole.
For me, intimacy just means being really present in the moment with your partner or your friend or whoever it is that you're seeking that connection with. So generally that would mean me putting my phone away and just being really focused on each other and on doing something together. And I think that a lot of people do think of intimacy as like a physical act like sex or cuddling. But I also think that intimacy could just be having a good chat about your day or like getting into a D&M. I also really enjoy like playing board games or cooking dinner or trying a new hobby together, even just going on a walk. So for me, it's more of like a feeling of connectedness with a person. And I think that that comes more so from quality time, no matter what the activity is.
I have two things to say.
That would come under social, I reckon.
I think that was social.
Yeah.
That was a little teaser for if you were like, what the hell is social intimacy? I think that might have been social. But the thing that I really liked about what she said was being present. And a lot of people DM'd us about that. Like a lot of people were like, being present is like super intimate for them. I really liked the example of putting down the phone as well. We really should do a topic about like
phones and relationships.
They're so brutal. They just fuck everything up.
I know. When you jump, it's off topic, but like when
Yeah.
you jump into bed and they're just scrolling and you're like, hello,
Yeah.
have you seen me?
I'm guilty of that.
You would be.
I'm chronically online. Okay, so another voice memo that we got from Bridget, she was really big on emotional intimacy via vulnerable conversations.
Intimacy to me is about going beyond those surface level conversations and being vulnerable about what you're feeling, both the good and the bad. So funnily enough, I have this print in my room and it's titled Intimacy. And it's of these two women and they're about to kiss, but they're both crying. And that's exactly what it feels like to me. Things like the first I love you when you're not sure if they're going to say it back. It's the moment when they match it and when they're vulnerable back. And it's just the two of you so completely exposed and in the moment together.
I might cry.
I want that print in my room.
That's so, yeah, that's really pure and it is really true. It's like having that experience with someone is so rare. Like that is pure intimacy right there, I reckon.
I think safety is a big thing as well, and that's what we heard from Tildes.
For me, at least, intimacy is like the gut chemical feeling that you're safe with someone and you can let them see this side to you that you wouldn't normally show the world, because we all, to some extent, sort of have this like first layer of defence that we put up to the world, which is, I think, natural and it's quite essential to life and safety. But I think intimacy is when you have that gut feeling and you meet someone and you feel safe enough with someone that you can let them see that side that you wouldn't normally show a lot of people, and you can break down that first line of defence, if you will. Like, it's that feeling that you're going against your natural instinction to put a wall up because you feel safe with somebody, to be intimate with them.
I love that.
I know. So good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's really, really nice.
And like we said, that's hard to get.
It's so hard to get.
Hard. And it's hard to keep.
I think we've spoken about eye contact during sex before. That can be intimacy for a lot of people. But that's something that a lot of people struggle with, right? It's like, it's interesting that intimacy, from all the research we've done, is such a huge indicator of healthy relationships, and relationships that break up are lacking it. But those moments are really vulnerable to do. It's something that I think a lot of people struggle with, like especially if you're someone who's like anxious, avoidant, or like, you know what I mean? It's like, the idea of getting that vulnerable and close with someone.
Yeah. Tildes has definitely done the work. She sounds like she's been in therapy.
Babe, good for you.
Yeah. That's not easy to do. We got this one from Anthony, and he sort of talks a little bit about sex in this, but I really liked what he had to say about comfort as well.
In my experience, intimacy in relationships can be found in a number of different ways. For example, you could be having passionate sex with your partner, where you really take the time to be in the moment and physically close to each other, just enjoying each other's touch and the comfort that they provide. But also it can be found in something as simple as a hug after a really foul day. Like when you just walk into their arms and feel their warm embrace and security, it just wipes all the feeling, and you know that you just feel that feeling of intimacy that they provide. So it can really just be found in a number of different ways.
Yeah, so like a mix of physical but emotional, I think, of being like, safety, comfort, knowing that they got you back no matter what.
Yeah, it was interesting because we did have a lot of people talk about that sense of safety, right? Like Hayden said, feeling a sense of safety, security, and an emotional sense. Fitch saying feeling comfortable enough with someone so they see your best and your worst.
Kobe said, I just came out of a 3-year relationship 2 months ago and hooked up with a close family friend. I've just discovered a whole new meaning of intimacy and connection. And to me, it means the spark that you have with someone. Okay, so one of the lesser known intimacies that we definitely didn't know was part of the Big Five is spiritual.
Yeah.
Not many people did message us with what I would categorize as spiritual, but I think it basically sums up sort of, as you would imagine, religious like practices, like praying together and that kind of thing. But I think it can also extend to, let's say, journaling.
Yeah.
Meditating.
I think just anything that is spiritual to you, right? Like, so that might be religion. It might be going and doing certain practices together. It might be sharing the same religion, but also it could be, doing meditation together. It could be having the same faith or ideas about spirituality in the world and sharing and having vulnerable conversations. Like, you know, the D&Ms you have with some people and you're like, I mean, it's always at like 2 a.m. But you're like, fuck, what even is life, you know? And you're like, what even is this all for? And then, you know, sometimes I think like maybe we're in the like matrix and that could be spiritual. Oh my God, you get it.
Spiritual at the kick on.
Yeah.
It's kind of giving like you're either at the kick on, you're at the back of the club, you're sitting on 2 milk crates and you're literally like having a diary and someone's like getting real deep about the latest spiritual thing that they found out and then you're really engrossed in that and you.
That would be intimacy to me. Do you reckon? Like for you?
It could if we had like a really genuine connection, if me and this person did. Yeah, probably. I don't know. It's really interesting. But yeah, not many people really kind of DM'd us about that or sent a voice memo. So yeah, if you didn't know, we're going to make noise for spiritual intimacy.
Okay. The last one out of the 5.
Yeah. Now this one is interesting. I don't know how I feel about this. I'm yet to be fully convinced about social intimacy.
Okay.
So convince me.
So social intimacy, I think, is going and doing things together, right? It's like sharing those moments of like, say, for example, maybe you felt really vulnerable or it was really important or a really huge passion of yours to do cooking classes or to learn how to cook and you did that with someone and it was like this really intimate moment. I mean, you've been doing clay, what's it called? Pottery. Hello.
There was an intimate moment with me and my instructor.
The famous moment. You could have, that's intimate.
We like touched hands when he was like helping me shape like a mug and I was like,
that's literally why people do those classes.
Also, you did a ring making class.
Okay.
Because I did a group present from everyone because we all love D. And I said, let's go get a ring making class workshop thing.
Yep.
And you do it with your partner and it was really intimate.
It was really cute. Like it was just something that we did for a couple of hours together. We made matching rings. Very, very ick, I will say. Like I feel a bit at that fact that we did this, but we put our names in them.
I think it was cute as fuck. But yeah, okay, I see you. We did get a voice memo from Tim actually that I think might talk to this.
Intimacy to me is that feeling of connection and affection with a partner. Connection in the sense of being able to share a range of experiences with them. One of these ways for me is cooking together and sharing a slow dance in the kitchen as we cook. It's these little moments we share together that I live for in a relationship.
Oh.
I would pass away. I would genuinely pass away if I slow dance in the kitchen. It's giving Taylor Swift. I think she mentions slow dancing in kitchens like every single song she's ever written.
It's a really good, yeah, people do sing a lot about that. I was going to say Joji, Slow Dancing in the Dark. You know that song?
Yeah. That is so beautiful to me. There is nothing. Okay, I think I changed my mind maybe. There is nothing more intimate than slow dancing romantically with someone in like the middle of the night in the kitchen.
Damn, I've never done it. But auditions are open.
Wow.
DMs are
open. Okay, we need to talk, before we wrap this up, we need to talk about the fact that not all intimacy comes from romance and romantic relationships.
Yeah, you read my mind because I think this also ties into social because we got this voice memo from Joseph and he was really big on platonic intimacy.
So intimacy to me is more platonic than romantic. My friends and I are intimate in how we share our emotions, why we are happy, why we are scared, and everything in between. We give each other safe places to communicate and let each other respond honestly, even when the other one could say something that might be hurtful, but we let each other be honest. We also don't hesitate to celebrate each other's achievements and show what we love to each other. It's support and trust. It's trust that we can be affectionate to each other, not only in words of affirmation, but also physically. The power of a hug, a gentle touch can do more than words can for each other, but it all stems from building trust and respecting each other's boundaries.
Oh, I want to be
imagine the friendship group.
I want to be in that group.
It's so true though, Joseph.
That's awesome.
Like for some reason, I think a lot of romantic relationships don't have a lot of what you just described. And it is something that you can genuinely have over friendships. And I mean, this is a whole other conversation, but like the value in society of like what relationships we value more, it's always romantic. But what you just described in friendship, I'm like, fuck, put that to the top.
Yeah.
No, I definitely think there's something in, like, you know, when you're traveling with a friend and you're so tired and you both just take a nap. It's like when you just take a nap next to each other or you take a nap just cuddling. That's intimacy.
Or when you're on the holiday with your friends and then everyone knows that we're going silent, we're going like
scroll time,
scroll mode, where you're literally like, no one talk to me for 30 minutes. I need my doom scroll.
Yeah.
That's intimacy. Can't do that with everyone. Say it. Comfortable silence. Love it. To wrap things up, though, we did get a voice memo from Nicole.
Yeah.
We heard from her before, but she wanted to add this little extra point that she felt like was really important.
And I guess just adding on that, intimacy doesn't always have to be with another person. Like, I think that you can have intimate moments with yourself. And again, it's just really taking quality time for yourself and being in touch with your own emotions and connected to self.
So don't forget to be intimate with yourself. Ever.
I'm getting annoying again, and I'm like, is that intimacy or is it just being intimate? I don't know. Intimacy allows people to bond with each other on many
That's
levels.
what this show is all about.
We're just,
you know?
we're just two girlies figuring it
We're
out.
just throwing things on a wall and seeing what stick. We're just trying to figure it out. And big thank you to everyone who actually inputs and helps us figure these things out. Everyone who sends us a DM and a voice memo, you're amazing. We love you so much. This is so good.
Yeah, because we're just learning along with you. And like, I feel like we have we obviously know that there's like 5 types of intimacy, but I feel like we're still learning.
Yeah. And if you want to learn more, we're going to get more into the weeds of intimacy and how to either keep it, rebuild it, reignite that spark. If you've been in like a long-term relationship, or maybe if you're even in a new relationship and you're like, why is this like not happening to me? Maybe there's a reason why. We're going to talk to an expert. We'll find out more. So stay tuned.
Okay.
All right.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.